about to go into lessons and get some drinks to start my day. Maybe some fruit. Let's get it. I hear something over there. Today I've got a banana. The bees are out this morning. Hello, bees. How are you doing today? I can't tell what I look like. I literally roll out of bed. But I think a lot of my skin is affected by, obviously diet, but also my stress. If I'm dealing with a lot of stress and anxiety, that's also the time where I'm getting, highly emotional. And that's been happening the past, 2 weeks. It's not a bad thing. I feel like in our society, we value almost who could be the most emotionless. We all need help sometimes. We all have a right to release our emotions, whether they're good or bad. I literally just saw something and I don't know where it went. I find when I'm attaching a negative or positive connotation with my own emotions, I don't allow myself to fully move through them. And that can be a problem. It's just like your thoughts. Yeah, you shouldn't define yourself by your thoughts because you're constantly evolving and we're all very sensitive and empathic to each other's energies and what others are even thinking or what they're thinking about us. So sometimes we might feel things that don't even belong to us. As humans, we are very empathic. And how this world is currently working is thriving off of the idea that we aren't that we're very logical and the lack of nurturing of one another. Not to say that it's not there, but it really does reflect in the inner critic that all of us develop. And I talked about that in another video, but the way that my inner critic sounds is very familiar to the way that I was spoken to as a child. I did not learn how to properly process those emotions without sort of beating myself up or running away with those feelings. I still have to acknowledge and validate the feelings that I am constantly expressing and constantly feeling within me, because otherwise it creates this sense of resentment. Honestly, you see others that may be able to express themselves freely because either they were raised in an environment where they're allowed to do so, or they just decided whether someone validates me or not, I'm going to express myself. So you don't want to live with that type of resentment. The people that love you are going to really acknowledge what your feelings are. It's very simple, and it really does start by, no matter what has been normalized to your life, no matter what age you are, if you feel like you were ever, even just a few times, invalidated for what something meant to you, or if someone told you, we don't have time for that. We don't have time for you to be sad. We don't have time for you to be angry. You're not allowed to be anything but what we expect you to be. And that's on your P's and Q's. And that's always doing what you're supposed to, always being productive. We look at the bad feelings as non-productive, and then the good feelings we're just supposed to be constantly running off of, when the reality is the part of our humanity is those bad feelings. I myself still have a hard time with not attaching them to bad thoughts. Even if I start feeling anxiety, okay, now I'm beating myself up in my head. Why can't I just go on with my day and not have to feel this, instead of allowing myself to work through those feelings? Okay, I accept these feelings. Why might I be feeling upset today? Just asking myself these questions. Whatever the case may be, you kind of have to sit with yourself and really speak to yourself as if you're speaking to your inner child. In your mind, actively be doing that, because otherwise, if you were raised in an environment to where you felt like you didn't have the time to have authentic expression and be honest about your feelings constantly, you are going to, in your mind, be beating yourself up for any other feeling that you don't see as a positive one. Why is that? Because, as I said, our inner critic forms as the voice that we heard from adults when we were children. So you really have to take the time to reprogram your inner critic. And this is something I'm still actively working on. I always say to Tara, my inner critic is so rude sometimes. Sometimes she be coming from my neck, and that's okay, but it's also girl, you're good, you're doing good, you're okay, it's okay. I think that we are absolutely the most critical on ourselves. The ego can trick you sometimes. The ego can also protect you in a positive way, in a more masculine way that is helpful and that is useful, as long as you are still validating your emotions and being aligned with spirit as well. The ego, it can lie to us sometimes. It can convince us that certain things about ourselves are true. That can be boosting your ego. That can be like, I'm better than everyone else, and this enlarged ego. Or it can be your ego sort of criticizing you constantly and tearing you down. And that's something that I've dealt with immensely. And I just think that obviously affirmations are very useful to reprogramming your subconscious mind, as much as that might feel like it doesn't work. If you're just starting with affirmations, while I'm in nature, I like to lay down on my back. If I need more space to receive that day, put my palms up to the sun. And then if I want some more grounding energies, I'll put my palms down and my feet down to the earth. So when I'm doing that, I'm just saying in my mind, repeating, I am safe, I am peaceful, I am truthful, I am honest, I am loving, I am always healing. I am accepting of my healing process. I'm accepting of who I am. I am forgiving of my past. I'm accepting of all of my past versions. That has really helped me in validating my inner child's feelings. In my experience, I have had so many situations as to where I've even done this. When we're living out of our ego and we're living out of logic all the time, it is very easy to, in trying to protect your own ego, I'm supposed to be perfect all the time. That means that I'll never do anything to hurt other people. It's not my intention, so it's never going to happen. Our ego sort of tries to protect us, but in a way hurts us, because we're trying to put up this illusion of perfection that's clearly not possible. In the end, we can end up hurting others, because even if you don't intend to hurt someone else, and you do, that is so important to acknowledge that that can still happen. Or even if someone's like, oh, well, that hurt my feelings, are you going to sit there and say, well, I never said that, or that never happened, or that's not my intention? Because those type of manipulation and gaslighting behaviors are what allow for people's inner critic to become so loud, and then they feel like they can't express themselves. Feeling like I couldn't express myself because not only did I feel that I wasn't allowed inside of my own vessel to be experiencing those feelings to begin with, I thought, oh, well, if I express them, I'm just going to be invalidated. So why would I ever express them? And that literally leads to deep shame. We all should be able to express ourselves. I don't care what it's about. There is ways to peacefully and non-peacefully, if you have to. If there's people around you that are constantly invalidating you, constantly gaslighting you, constantly trying to emotionally manipulate you, at this point, at least in my life, I don't have the time to over-explain myself to people that are choosing to misunderstand me before I even express myself. And what I mean by that is they are sort of looking to use my feelings in a way that benefits them, rather than truly wanting to hear what I have to say and understand me better. And obviously it does start with you offering that understanding to yourself. So in that, I have to practice protecting my energy and protecting my energetic field and protecting my emotional space and my emotional body. And that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have empathy for others. Something that me and my sister always talk about is practicing empathy and not sympathy. And where empathy lies, you can exist in the space of just basic understanding and being able to say, I understand why you feel that way. I can see where you're coming from. Sympathy, when you're feeling bad for someone, when you're feeling sorry for them, that shows that you're not seeing they're meant to move through their emotions just as you are meant to. In their emotions, even the uncomfortable ones, I do think there is something for them to gain, some sort of clarity or some sort of release. And a lot of the time, that's all the space that we need. That's all the space that other people that we care about need for us to offer to them, is just to be listened to. I've really been practicing being a healthy empath. And even if it's a person that I care deeply about that is experiencing discomfort, I cannot solve everyone else's issues to make myself feel more comfortable, because seeing them in pain causes me pain. I have to say, I love you and I'm here for you, but I cannot also carry your feelings for you. Instead, I can trust that so-and-so will work through these emotions, and for now, all I can do is show up for them, just by recognizing that most of the time people just want to express themselves without judgment, without criticism, without being minimized for their feelings. All people want is the space to express themselves. And when we give someone that, when we allow them the safety just to express, the freedom, the liberation, the empowerment that provides for that person is so powerful. That can lead to emotional evolution. Something we don't talk about enough is emotional intelligence, and that's where you sort of have to sit down with your inner child and tell the ego to take a seat. It's time for the parent and the inner child to have a talk. You start by creating this basis of understanding and acceptance of your own feelings within yourself. Your inner parent starts to decide, I don't want to keep invalidating myself. I don't want to keep holding my feelings in to the point that I am resentful and angry at other people and lashing out at people I care about. From there, the relationships that you begin to form outside of yourself will be a reflection of that, rather than you continue to live from a place that you feel like you cannot express yourself. And then the people around you will reflect that, and they will continue to invalidate you, and they will continue to gaslight you, and they will continue to think that that's okay because you're allowing for it. And that's something that I have really had the space to do, and I'm so thankful for that. And now I have sort of been able to teach myself to have that understanding and that compassion for my own emotional process and my own healing process, instead of beating myself up for feeling. What? Your feelings are always guiding you. You feel fearful about something. Maybe you're supposed to face that fear. Maybe you're just supposed to talk about that fear. If no one is going to validate your feelings, you have to do it for yourself, even if it's uncomfortable, because you've been made to feel like everyone else's opinion matters over your own. Well, if I don't get attention from this person, or if I don't get validation from this person, then that means I'm wrong. And that's not true. It's up to you to decide, are you going to allow others' validation to be more pertinent and to be more important over your own for the rest of your life? Or are you going to decide that you deserve to simply understand yourself, and that acceptance of who you are, just allowance of you, and allowing yourself to feel what you feel, regardless if others are going to accept it or validate it? That is impeccable. And so, with that, we have had another TRU Talk. You can check out our Instagram. It is a food and travel account. You will find many vegan and gluten-free recipes and meal ideas. I wanted to show you what I was drinking today. You will also find this brand on our Instagram because we've been loving it lately. It is called Vibes, and I got the peach and ginger flavor. It says, slow down, sleep more, read books, walk every day, and be kind. And that's just on period. Even if nobody else is going to tell you, I'm going to tell you. Stay strong, validate yourself, love yourself, express your feelings, allow your authentic expressions to flow. Don't let anybody tell you who you are, and don't let anybody tell you what you can and can't feel. Well, I hope you guys have a beautiful day. Make sure you stay hydrated, get some sun if you can, write some affirmations if you can, have a conversation with your inner child, journal a little bit about how you're feeling today, all of the sorts. And yes, stay true, loves.